I remember standing in the middle of the ballroom, watching my parents dance with my brother and his new wife under a chandelier that probably cost more than my entire college education. Champagne glasses clinked, the band played something elegant, and I just stood there invisible. It wasn't jealousy. It was realization. The kind that burns. My parents had just spent $100,000 on my brother's wedding. They spared no expense: the venue, the custom suits, the imported flowers from Italy. My mom even joked about how it's a once-in-a-lifetime event. Funny. Because when I got engaged last year, she told me they were tapped out after helping with my brother's business loan. I smiled that night, posed for photos, pretended it didn't sting. But inside, something cracked. It wasn't just about money, it was about value. About feeling like the extra child, the filler in someone else's story. My mom gushed over my brother's wife like she was the daughter she'd always wanted. And when I tried to show her my engagement ring, she barely looked up. By the end of that night, I made a silent promise. If they didn't see my worth, I'd make sure the world did. What I didn't know then was how far that decision would take me, and how much it would cost. Because the next time my name was on everyone's lips, it wouldn't be at a wedding. It would be on national television. And it all started the moment I decided to elope. I'm Jennifer, 28 years old, born and raised in Connecticut. My parents are what you'd call suburban royalty. My dad owns a chain of car dealerships, my mom runs a charity foundation that mostly hosts fancy brunches and photo ops. My brother, Nathan, is the golden boy MBA, fiancé from a good family, the whole perfect package. And me, the creative one. The black sheep who moved to New York to work in digital marketing, chasing unstable dreams, as my dad once put it. I was always second to Nathan: smaller achievements, smaller celebrations. When I got promoted at work, they forgot to even text me. When Nathan closed a deal, they threw a dinner party. It became the rhythm of my life, being the other child. When I met Ethan, my fiancé, I thought maybe things would change. He was kind, ambitious, steady, the sort of man my parents should have approved of. But they didn't. My mom said he was too ordinary, my dad said he lacked connections. So when we got engaged, I expected little, but not nothing. Still, when my mom told me flat out that they couldn't contribute financially, it was a slap. Especially since Nathan's wedding was scheduled 6 months later and they were already touring vineyard venues. I told myself it didn't matter. That love didn't need spectacle. But every time a new expense popped up: a deposit, a dress, a photographer, I couldn't help hearing my dad's words echo: we have to prioritize where it matters. So one night, while scrolling through Pinterest and crying over wedding budgets, Ethan said softly, "Why don't we just not do it their way?" That was the first time he mentioned eloping. I laughed then. But something inside me shifted. The months leading up to Nathan's wedding were torture. Every family group chat, every conversation, every weekend, it was all about them. My mom sent me dress options for her, my dad practiced his speech out loud, and I just sat there, pretending not to exist. The final straw came when my mom accidentally sent me a message meant for my aunt: "Jen's engagement is sweet, but let's be honest, Ethan's just not on our level." I stared at my phone for 10 minutes. Then I blocked her. After that, something hardened in me. Ethan and I had already talked about eloping once, but now it wasn't a what if, it was the plan. We picked a date 2 weeks before Nathan's wedding. I didn't tell anyone. Not even my best friend. We flew to Colorado, rented a cabin in the Rockies, and said our vows on a cliff at sunrise. Just the two of us and the wind. I cried the whole time, not because I was sad, but because it was the first moment in years that felt truly mine. When I posted a single photo, just our joined hands and mountains in the background, my phone exploded. First from friends. Then from my mom. Then from Nathan. And by the time I saw the last message, I knew this story wasn't ending quietly. "You ruined the family's image, Jennifer. You couldn't even let your brother have his moment." That's when I decided, if they wanted a family image, I'd give them one. The real one, and the world would pay to see it. The morning after I posted our elopement photo, my phone was a battlefield. I woke up to 37 missed calls, half from my mother, the rest from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. The family group chat looked like a courtroom transcript. How could you? You're embarrassing us. You should have waited. Nathan's fiancée even messaged me, couldn't you give us one day to be happy before stealing attention? That one stung. Because for once, I hadn't been trying to take anything from them, just claim something for myself. My mom finally got through to me around noon. I remember her voice shrill, trembling, like she'd been crying, but not out of sadness. Out of anger. Jennifer, do you have any idea what you've done? The entire family is talking about you. Your aunt said it's humiliating. Mom, I said quietly, I got married. That's it. You did it to hurt us. You couldn't wait 2 weeks. You didn't even want to be there, I snapped. Silence. Then she said the words that stayed with me for months. You've always been jealous of Nathan. I just didn't realize it ran this deep. That broke me. I hung up. Then I turned my phone off. Ethan held me while I cried, his hand on my back as I whispered, they'll never understand, will they? They don't have to, he said. You just live your truth. I thought maybe, eventually, things would calm down. But 2 days later, my mom posted a passive-aggressive family values message on Facebook, complete with a photo of Nathan and his wife-to-be, and wrote, some people choose love that uplifts their family. Others choose selfishness. That post went semi-viral in our small town. Everyone knew who she meant. And that's when the messages started from strangers, supportive ones, angry ones, curious ones. And an idea started forming in my mind. Because if my family wanted to turn me into a story, I'd make sure it was told my way. The weeks after the elopement were strangely quiet. I stopped answering calls. My parents didn't reach out again. Ethan and I settled into married life in New York, small apartment, ramen dinners, laughter echoing in the kitchen. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. And for a while, that was enough. Until Nathan's wedding week arrived. Everywhere I looked online, Facebook, Instagram, even local news, there it was. My family's perfect image, the vineyard venue, the 6-tier cake, my parents smiling like royalty. The headline from a local lifestyle blog read, "The Reynolds family hosts wedding of the year." I didn't cry this time. I just stared at the screen, numb. Then the comments caught my attention. A few people mentioned me, wondering why I wasn't there, speculating if something had happened. Some even defended me, saying I was the creative one. That's when a freelance writer DM'd me on Instagram. Hi Jennifer, I'm with the Daily Lens. I came across your family's story and heard about your elopement. Would you be open to talking about it? There's real interest in stories about family inequality and emotional neglect, especially around weddings. At first, I laughed. Me? Talk to the media? It felt ridiculous. But then I remembered my mom's words, you've always been jealous of Nathan. Maybe it wasn't jealousy. Maybe it was survival. So I said yes. We met at a cafe downtown. I told the reporter everything, not just about the money, but the years of being overshadowed, ignored, diminished. She listened like no one else ever had. The story ran under the title, Forgotten Daughter, the woman who eloped after being left out of her family's $100,000 wedding plans. Within 48 hours, it exploded online. People called me brave. Others called me petty. But one thing was certain, for the first time, everyone was talking about me, not Nathan. And then came the call that changed everything. It was a Thursday morning when my phone rang. Unknown number. Hi, Jennifer. This is Megan Clark, Talent Acquisitions at Harper Media. We came across your story and think there's a potential feature opportunity, possibly even a documentary. At first, I thought it was a prank. But then she mentioned the figure. We can offer $250,000 for exclusive rights, we'd handle the adaptation, interviews, production. You'd retain approval over your portrayal. $250,000. I almost dropped my coffee. Ethan's eyes widened when I told him. Jen, that's life-changing. It's poetic, I said quietly. They spent $100,000 to make him look perfect. I'm about to make more than double by being real. The deal was finalized within weeks. The team came to our apartment, filmed interviews, and dramatized scenes from my childhood, the favoritism, the neglect, the emotional manipulation. I thought I'd feel guilty. But I didn't. Not one bit. When the feature released, it went viral, 4 million views in 2 days. My inbox filled with messages from strangers saying, "Thank you for sharing this." I felt invisible too. I wasn't invisible anymore. But with visibility came consequences. Because a week after the documentary dropped, my dad showed up at my apartment. I'll never forget the look on my dad's face when I opened the door. He wasn't angry. He wasn't even ashamed. He looked disappointed, the same way he used to look when I brought home anything less than perfect. "Jennifer," he said, stepping inside without asking. "Do you realize what you've done to this family?" I stayed calm. I told my story. "You sold your story," he snapped. "You turned us into a circus. Your mother hasn't slept in days." For a second, I almost softened. But then I remembered every time I begged for attention, every time they forgot I existed. "Dad, you spent $100,000 to prove Nathan's worth," I said. "I made $250 showing the world mine." He glared at me. "Money isn't everything." "Maybe not," I said, "but it sure shuts people up." He sighed, rubbing his forehead. "You could have come to us." "I did," I whispered. "You just never listened." He didn't respond. Just stood there in silence, the kind that says everything you need to hear. Then he turned, walked out, and said before closing the door, "You'll regret this when the cameras stop rolling." But what he didn't realize was, the cameras had only just started. The documentary spread like wildfire. Podcasts wanted me. Talk shows called. I was labeled the $250,000 bride. Some praised me for standing up to toxic family expectations. Others called me a narcissist chasing fame. But I didn't care. For once, I was seen. Then came the backlash. My mother posted a statement on Facebook claiming the documentary was fictionalized. Nathan gave an interview saying he was hurt by my lies. They painted me as a bitter attention seeker who twisted family history. Part of me wanted to fight back publicly. But Ethan stopped me. "You already won," he said softly. "They're proving your point." He was right. A week later, Harper Media sent a bonus check, $50,000 more. The feature was now their top-rated human interest story of the year. But fame's a funny thing. The same world that lifts you up loves to see you fall. Rumors spread that Ethan and I were faking our relationship for attention. We laughed it off at first, until a new headline appeared that would change everything. Jennifer Reynolds' husband spotted alone at bar with mystery woman. My stomach dropped. The photo was blurry, Ethan sitting at a bar, a woman's hand on his arm. The article was vague, but the damage was done. Reporters called non-stop. I couldn't breathe. When Ethan came home that night, I confronted him. "Tell me it's fake." He sighed. "Jen, it's not what it looks like." "Then what is it?" I shouted. "After everything, now you want attention too?" He swore nothing happened, that it was a coworker, that the media twisted it. But I couldn't tell anymore where truth ended and spectacle began. I'd turned my pain into profit. And maybe somewhere along the way, we'd both lost what was real. That night, I sat on our couch surrounded by newspaper clippings and messages from strangers, thousands of voices, none of them mine. I realized I'd won the war with my family, but I'd lost the quiet. Still, one final story remained untold, and it was the one only I could write. I turned my phone off for the first time in months. No interviews. No comments. No Ethan. Just silence. For the first time, I reread the article that started it all, Forgotten Daughter. I saw my pain laid bare, but also my power. I realized I didn't need their validation, not my parents', not the world's. A week later, I sent my parents a letter. No accusations. No apologies. Just one line: "You spent $100,000 trying to look perfect. I made $250,000 being honest." Then I enclosed a check for $25,000 donation to my mom's charity with a note that said, "For the daughter you never saw." And for once, I didn't wait for a reply. Because this time, I wasn't writing for them. I was writing for me. 6 months later, my story aired again, this time, in a primetime follow-up titled The Bride Who Broke the Family Script. I watched it alone, sipping wine, no longer shaking when my name trended. Then my phone buzzed, an email from my dad. No greeting, no lecture. Just a photo. It was the $25,000 check I'd sent. Torn in half. Below it, a handwritten note. We don't want your money. We want our daughter back. For the first time, I didn't cry. I smiled. Because they finally called me what I'd been all along, their daughter. I wrote back one sentence. You can have me, but not the version you built. The next morning, I walked to my office, my own marketing agency, funded entirely by the story they tried to silence. On my desk sat a framed receipt from Harper Media. $250,000, paid in full. The caption beneath it read, "The day they finally saw me."